Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, depending from where you're connecting right now. My name is Lisa Watt. I'm Chief of the Population Unit at UNECE. And on behalf of our two organizing teams from WHO and UNECE, I wish you a very warm welcome to today's side event to the UNECE Regional Forum on Sustainable Development that will be starting tomorrow. The event is on the topic of age-friendly cities and communities, and we are very excited to have with us today a selection of very distinguished speakers, I think, and I look forward to a very interesting hour and a half with all of you. Before we start, a few housekeeping announcements. You will be able to leave your comments, thoughts, questions to the panelists in the chat. The chat, I hope you have already identified where it is. It's the little round icon that looks like a speaking bubble on the bottom right of your screen normally. And there is a drop-down menu where you can select who you want to leave a message for. So please do make sure that you leave it for everyone so that we can all see people's contributions. And there will be a moment after all speakers have spoken where we have a Q&A session during which we will be addressing the questions and comments from the chat. So without further ado, we will start with a short video from the UN Decade of Healthy Aging, and then with some welcome remarks from WHO and the UNECE Standing Working Group on Aging. Over to the video.
When it comes to aging, we can learn a lot from nature. Consider a tree. As it grows, its rings expand outwards, telling the years gone by. But those rings tell more than just time. If you look between the lines, you will also see how the tree's habitat and living conditions have impacted its life. The healthier the ecosystem, the more it will have thrived. We humans are no different. As we age, our physical and social environment provide us with vital resources. Access to healthcare and proper nutrition, opportunities in education and employment. Safe housing and supportive communities become the roots that nourish our development and well-being. So what happens when we grow older if our environment does not sustain us? Just like a tree, our health declines and we struggle to flourish. Over time, we may become disconnected and a burden to others. The UN Decade of Healthy Aging aims to give everyone the opportunity to add life to years, wherever they may live. A transformative collaboration of diverse sectors and organizations, the decade focuses on changing how we think, feel, and act towards aging, cultivating age-friendly environments, creating responsive healthcare systems and services, and promoting long-term care and support essential to living with meaning and dignity. By adding quality to quantity, we give all people the chance to lead a meaningful life, no matter their age. And that includes you, and you, and you, and me. Together, we can make every year count, not by the numbers, but how we live and grow in between.
So colleagues, I hope that you hear me well, and after seeing this beautiful video of the UN Decade for Healthy Aging, this event today is a concrete example of the concerted collaboration we can have under the decade. It is a great pleasure to welcome you all to our side event, organized by WHO and UNECE, with the valuable contribution of older persons leaders, as well as members and affiliates of the Global Network for Age-Friendly Cities and Communities. So today we gather to explore the crucial links between age-friendliness and sustainable development and discuss how we can work together towards creating healthier, more equitable and sustainable communities for all ages. The world is aging rapidly. We know that by 2050, close to 20% of the global population will be aged to 60 years and more, with the majority of them living in low and middle-income countries. And we also know that the pace of population aging will differ by country, by city, with some of these places having a much shorter time to adapt than others. And that is the same for urbanization trends as well. And this is important because where people live determines healthy aging, and rapid unplanned urbanization presents risks to health, society, and the environment. Now, these global trends bring us some challenges, but also great opportunities for creating age-friendly environments that can foster healthy aging, enabling older people to be and do what they value. We've seen throughout the years that age-friendly cities and communities are a proven strategy for creating those environments, as they are designed to meet the needs of the wide diversity of older people, promote their health, autonomy, and contributions in all areas of community life, and anticipate and respond flexibly to aging-related needs and preferences. The global age-friendly community has grown and strengthened over the past 15 years. Since 2010, the WHO Global Network has been connecting cities, communities, and organizations worldwide with the common vision of making their communities a great place to grow old in. And in doing so, also contributing to deliver on the SDG agenda. We see that the 8 domains of action and the proposed cycle to develop and sustain age-friendly cities and communities are closely overlapping and aligning with several efforts to deliver on the SDG agenda. Considering that initiatives targeting older adults are mentioned under 12 different SDGs. SDG 1, no poverty, SDG 3, good health and well-being, 10, reduced inequalities, and of course 11, sustainable cities and communities, being the most commonly ones. Now, the global network is now reaching close to 1,500 members from over 45 countries from around the world, fulfilling its mission to inspire change by showing what can be done and how it can be done, to connecting cities and communities, and of course, supporting them to find appropriate, innovative, and evidence-based solutions. And this is a clear example of a global partnership for sustainable development, as stated in the SDG 17. The global network can also be seen as an implementation platform whereby all the action areas of the UN Decade for Healthy Aging can be strengthened from local to national. And I invite you to look at and be inspired by the many activities led by cities, communities, and countries worldwide, documented in our global database of age-friendly practices. Now, we also saw over the years that cities and communities supported by a national age-friendly program tend to perform better as they receive that additional layer of support that only national governments can provide. And in fact, strengthening the coordination across all levels of government and ensuring that every member state develops its national programs is one of the aspirations under the UN Decade of Healthy Aging. So I'm pleased to let you know today that the World Health Organization, with the support of many partners, has developed, and it's just completing a guide named National Programs for Age-Friendly Cities and Communities, which will soon become available, providing concrete guidance for national authorities and stakeholders responsible for or involved in forming or sustaining national programs for age-friendly cities and communities. We'll start rolling out this guide in countries this year, so please do not hesitate to reach out if you're interested to know more on how to develop a national program for age-friendly cities and communities in your country or region. I would like to end by highlighting that by creating these age-friendly environments ecosystem, if you will, block by block, city by city, country by country, we hope to enable a future where people can transform themselves by transforming the environments in which they live, work, play, and age, with a common vision of making their communities good places in which to grow older, healthily and sustainably for this and future generations. So with that, I would like to pass the floor to my colleague, Martin Amberger from the UNECE Standing Working Group on Aging for his opening remarks. Martin, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Tiago. I hope you can all hear me. Otherwise, please let me know. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all participants and speakers of the event on behalf of the UNECE Standing Working Group on Aging. UNECE's Standing Working Group on Aging is an intergovernmental body with membership consisting of national focal points on aging, representing the 56 member states of the entire UNECE region. Also, representatives from NGOs, academia, and international organizations participate actively. The UNECE Standing Working Group on Aging promotes mainstream of aging in all policies, adjusts to demographic change, and creates an environment that is conducive to the full realization of the individual and societal potential of longevity. The Standing Working Group on Aging supports the realization of the policy principles set out in the 2002 Madrid International Plan on Action on Aging and its regional implementation strategy and the Rome Ministerial Declaration on Aging of 2022. The UNECE Standing Working Group on Aging is strongly committed to support the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and there are undoubtedly many synergies between policy efforts to harness the opportunities of aging and the Sustainable Development Goals. SDG 17 calls for building strong global partnerships and cooperation for sustainable development. The UNECE Standing Working Group on Aging, the WHO Global Network for Age-Friendly Cities and Communities, and the international collaboration under the UN Decade of Healthy Aging are all examples of such partnerships. Sustainable Development Goal 11, making cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable, is a very important enabler of healthy aging. Strong connection also to SDG 3, ensuring healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. The goal of removing barriers to mobility in urban spaces was already included in the 2002 Madrid International Plan of Action on Aging. And in last year's Rome Ministerial Declaration, UNECE member states renewed their strong commitment for investing in the creation of more age-friendly environments in line with the WHO guidance. As you all know, however, there is still a long road ahead of us to make urban environments truly age-friendly. WHO Global Network for Age-Friendly Cities and Communities plays a very important role in making cities more age-friendly by providing us with concrete examples of what can be done and by creating opportunities for peer learning. Through the development of national programs, the network is also an outstanding impactful example of vertical cooperation between national and local level. Clearly highlighting the importance of the local level for impacting people's lives. The UNECE Standing Working Group on Aging is very pleased to jointly organize this event with colleagues from WHO and to have with us today several distinguished colleagues working actively towards making cities and communities more age-friendly. I very much look forward to our discussion today, and thank you. And I pass the floor to Lisa, who will guide us through the afternoon.
Thank you very much, Martin, and also Tiago for your opening remarks. It's now my pleasure to give the floor to the Deputy Minister of Health and Social Protection from Tajikistan, Dr. Shodikon Shamset, and Dr. Saudat Kamalova, Director of the Central Asian Gerontology Center in Tajikistan. Both have provided a video message for us that we are now playing for you. Thank you.
Dear distinguished guests, I am pleased to join today's conference, and I want to speak on behalf of Tajikistan. Tajikistan is currently implementing the 10 years program on healthy aging for 2021 and 2030. At the same time, very steady steps are being taken for the implementation of sustainable development goals, especially goal number 17, which is focused on partnership and benefits of sustainable development, and goal number 11 on development of cities and communities. It should be noted that despite the fact that Tajikistan is a very young country, the average age of citizens is 23 years, and 63% of its population is under 30 years old. The contribution of the elderly people in the society of Tajikistan today is 6.5%, and by 2030 it will be more than 11.5%. In the area of aging, Tajikistan is doing everything in the direction of planning and serious social and economic issues. Our government continuously paying special attention to the issues of well-being and quality of life of the present and future generations. And proudly, I would like to note that our country is one of the pilot countries of the Global Action Program on Healthy Life and Well-being for Everybody. The goal of this plan, first of all, is to strengthen the financing of the health sector, to achieve the goal of sustainable development, and to promote the health and well-being of everybody, including the elderly people. But I think it is necessary to admit that we can achieve all these goals only in cooperation with the civil society, international, regional, and global organizations. Today, I want to express my deep gratitude to Dr. Saudat Kamolova for her outstanding work, who dedicated 10 years of her life directly to the problem of healthy aging, and she was able to create communities and networks throughout Tajikistan in a very short period of time. The service of this specialist is an inspiration and an example for us. In this matter, we fully support this person, who is working as a head of a gerontological center of Central Asia, and at the same time, part-time leading specialist of the Ministry of Health and Social Protection of Population of the Republic of Tajikistan. And for the implementation of a 10 years program on healthy aging goals, I think we need to join together efforts and various governmental authorities, including civil society, international organizations, in order to achieve significant and efficient results. I think that together we can achieve a great change, and one should think that if someone like Saudat Kamolova could achieve these results, then together we can do other great things. Dear participants and guests of the Regional Forum on Friendly and Sustainable Cities and Communities for Elderly People, it is my pleasure and honor to join you today. I want to express my deep gratitude to the organizers of the given event, and especially I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the Minister of Health and Social Protection of the Population of the Republic of Tajikistan, represented by Deputy Minister Dr. Shodikhon Jamshed, for his continuous support. We all know that according to the development laws in nature, in a society and human being life, basically nothing happens by accident. And for me, working with the elderly people also was a necessity. I grew up in a family where, by tradition, 1% of family income was spent on charity. I have worked for 15 years as an assistant at the Department of Medical Institution, and I was dealing with treatment of and rehabilitations of elderly people. My thesis research was about elderly people's treatment in Hoja Opigarm resort. It is known that the 5-year civil war in Tajikistan is the most tragic episode in the history of our country. The infrastructure was completely destroyed. There were a lot of socially unprotected people and elderly people who became the most vulnerable ones because relatives and children left their old parents. During this difficult time for the country, more than 3,000 NGOs were established, and for me it was necessary to create humanitarian and rehabilitation center for elderly people, which was subsequently reorganized as a Central Asian Gerontological Center. Our long-term experience has served as a platform to work jointly with the Ministry of Health, WHO, Center for Strategic Research under the Presidential Office, and other partners as well. I am working as a head of a Central Asian Gerontological Center for 20 years, and currently the goal of the center is to promote the results of our research into aging policy, to raise awareness and change stereotypes of attitudes towards the elderly people. Within our pilot project, we have established self-help groups, communication clubs, number of gerontological rooms, and also conducted training for elderly people and gerontological specialists. We have switched from humanitarian programs into the development programs. There were organized a volunteer movement among the elderly people and training for elderly people to improve their knowledge and raise their self-esteem. There are no age-friendly cities and communities for elderly people in Tajikistan, and I am excited by the support of the Ministry of Health and international partners to build a strong network of age-friendly environment. I am inspired by the high appraisal of my work by the world community and my inclusion among the top 50 world leaders in the Healthy Aging program. I was awarded as an expert in social work of the Ministry of Health. An important point in building a better society for all ages is to strengthen the linkage between generations. The number of elderly people is increasing, and if no linkage between generations, then it can cause different problems like ageism and misunderstanding. And it was our pleasure that in November 2022, Dr. Hans Kluger, WHO Regional Director for Europe, visited our country and attended in a multi-generational tea party in Dushanbe. It was a wonderful event held within the tea drinking traditions in Tajikistan, and once again it has shown the importance of the continuity of generations. By working together and leveraging the SDGs agenda for 2030 and the UN Decade for Healthy Aging, we can make significant progress towards improving the life of elderly people. And I want to continue our joint efforts. And I am confident that with the joint efforts, we can change the situation and create better environment, cities and communities for everybody, including elderly people. Thank you for your attention.
So, thank you, Samudat, if you can hear us, and Deputy Minister for Health and Social Protection of Tajikistan for having contributed this inspirational message to us. It is now my pleasure to pass the floor to our moderator for today's event, Liz Mesteneos from Age Platform Europe, for some opening remark before then moderating and introducing our panelists for the rest of the event, as well as the interactive discussion at the end. Over to you, Liz.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for inviting me to be a moderator. I feel very privileged. And I think some of you will have seen that I come from 50 plus, Silas. I'm a Greek citizen. And you might wonder, what has it got to do with Age Platform Europe? Well, Age Platform Europe is made up of over 120 organizations at member state level, though there are also members who are not from member states of the EU. And this is an important organization for the WHO and for many other organizations, because it brings together mainly, though not only, organizations of older people. And it's something I want to stress with whatever we do here, that don't plan for anything without older people. And I think Age Platform tries very hard not to do that. And one of the ways in which we do it is have different task forces on different areas. And one of the big ones that goes well is called the Task Force on Age-Friendly Environments. And we've just been looking at the new programme and what is hoped to be achieved in 2023. And certainly one of the things is to influence what happens at the European parliamentary level, and to make sure that they get some clear ideas that they feed back to their own nation state. But one of the most important aspects which we bring together is to make sure that the general problems that older people have in access to services such as banking, shopping, all kinds of health services you can think, are actually dealt with. We have a tremendous tendency to assume that if we put digital services in place, it's easier for people, they can access them. And it's not true. You must look at the digital literacy rates and the competencies to understand how actually difficult it is for many older people to be able to use some of these services. And they have been a bit chaotic. They're getting more organized as we get on, but nonetheless, it is something where older people have to be helped to use these services, and that they need to be integrated. And I think that is one of the things we have done as much as we can to promote, not on paper, not in discussion, but very practically, asking the banking authorities, asking governments, how do they propose to make their services really accessible to older people? So we send people to meetings, to events, the staff go as well, of course, and we exchange good practice there. So again, from the point of view of UNECE and WHO, having a look at what Age Platform does might be jolly useful, and there's a lot of work being done there. I think too that we have to underline that when we talk about essential services and we talk about access, we're also underlining the human rights aspect, excluding people systematically by not making them digitally literate, not supporting their digital literacy, not helping them in this, does effectively exclude a lot of people. And I think one of the things that I would like to mention is the European Commission and the European Agency for Fundamental Rights, who are talking in Principle 20 about the need to make services really accessible and not exclude older people. One of the other areas we're discussing is things like mobility. They're bringing up the issue of driving capacity. Well, restrictions, insurance restrictions, which effectively act quite often as barriers to older people being able to use cars and get access to transport. Not everybody can use a bus. Not everywhere has got a bus or services, a bus that can be actually served by buses. So you have to think very hard about whatever you do at European level has to be implemented in all member states and to be, again, done in such a way that it does not exclude older people. And here we have some synergy and in consultation with them on healthy aging. I've been doing something called for a long time now, something called Access City Awards, which is actually about disability. Very difficult. One of the set of people with disability problems don't necessarily see themselves as in the same boat as older people. And we have to make them understood that actually the majority of disabled at any one moment of time, okay, are actually older people. So when we talk about accessibility, it's a good source of material to understand what some cities have done in the way of making their cities more easy for everybody to negotiate. It's not the same as age-friendly, all right? Let me be clear. But there are some aspects of it which are to do with accessibility, physical accessibility, which are important. And again, I would suggest that people might want to look at that. And certainly we work with the European Disability Forum, the Passenger Forum, the Consumer Forums, and so on. There's many, many organizations at the European level. And finally, let me just say some of the programs we're involved in. Age-friendly environments and accessibility. There's something called the Senior Explorers of Urban Environments. I don't know it. I have had nothing to do with this. The AFA, Age-Friendly Environment Toolkits. There's open educational resources for age-friendly cities, urban age, using disruptive technologies for age-friendly cities, and EU Accessibility City. And finally, I mean, those are there, and what I did do is put the link to the webpage of Age Platform. So when you're interested in this, you just look it up and you'll see all the many programs we've been involved in. I think again of interest is a new program that's just begun, which is being done by researchers with Age Platform to train 12 doctoral, postdoctoral students in aspects of aging in place and age-friendly environments, which will involve issues like housing, new technologies, mobility, urban, rural aspects of movement, the representation, the diversity of older people. And one, I think, an important aspect is that there will be in all of that an older adult reference group. That is to say, they will not be told what is happening. They will be a critical part of the development of the work of this group, of developing programs and policies for older people. So again, it's the usual things that acting the disabled got it, you know, nothing without us, nothing for us without us. Well, the age say the same, and so does everybody else. And I think it's important to recognize that incorporating in your budgets, incorporating in your processes and organization, a process of talking with older people is utterly critical if it is to have some viable possibility of being implemented. And we are, by the way, finally, we are involved in the WHO European consultation on the forthcoming framework of action for healthy aging. That is a very quick overlook at the WHO, at Age Platform Europe. And as you see, we have started some cooperation. However, it hides a lot of differences at national and regional and local levels. Lots of places are not highly yet involved. We have a long way to go to get them all involved. And I think that will do from me. And I would have the pleasure, I think now, I mean, I'm very happy later on to answer questions, but please do feel happy to read the WHO section on the Task Force on Age-Friendly Environments. And now I'd like to pass to introducing Sarah Diaz. She has a good, very interesting academic, policy and political career, both at local, national and European level. And I would like her to present what they're doing from IMSERSO. Sarah, can I hand over to you?
Thank you, Liz. Good afternoon. Just for the record, I'm research and policy, but not political. But thank you. I'm going to share my screen. I've been close to that, but in policy and research, that's not the same. I prefer policy. Can you see my screen? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. So thank you very much, Liz. That was really interesting. Thank you for inviting me and to the UNECE and WHO to organize this side event. Thank you very much. So I want to talk about the Spanish network of age-friendly cities and communities, trying, you know, in this context of how to match and how to make inclusive environments for a sustainable society. And I'm going to start with a little context. Spain is quite a big country. It's larger than Germany, and population size is almost a half and very concentrated in some areas. Geographically, Spain is very mountainous. We're the second most mountainous country after Switzerland in Europe. And these have important implications, in particular for rural areas, the configuration. These geographical details are combined with a rather complex and sometimes challenging division of power, because Spain is a very highly decentralized country like other countries in Europe. So these are important preconditions. In Spain, we are more than 47 million people, approximately some more than half, 24.3 million are women. Life expectancy is quite high. With the pandemic, it went down notably, but we were the second for a number of years. We were the second after Japan. We're a little lower now with 82.4 and higher than 85 for women. And we have an important population, aged population. We have more than 20% with 65 plus. And it's interesting to see that trend, because in 1960, it was only 8.4. The mean age today, these days, is more than 44 years. And in 1970, it was 32. So the trend is clear, and the prospection for the next years is the trend is clear in all the European countries. We're going to a more aged population society. In Spain, there are more than 8,000 municipalities, 8,000, that's not a mistake. Almost 5,000 of those have less than 1,000 people living in them. But we also have quite large cities like Madrid with more than 3 million people, Barcelona more than 1.6, Valencia, Sevilla, or Zaragoza. So that's another element of diversity. Now I will go to the Spanish network of age-friendly cities and communities. We at the IMSERSO, the Institute for Social Services for Older People Social Services, are the affiliate organization to WHO for the coordination of the Spanish network. Today, there are 241 cities and communities, and there are more than 18 million people living in those cities. As you can see, we have a quite interesting share of distribution of rural, intermediate, urban, and urban plus, more than 100,000 people in the network. It's quite diverse and heterogeneous. That's quite a rich network and very active. We were in the network for since 2012. We renovated last year our agreement with the IMSERSO for the second time. So it's growing. Actually, today, just a few minutes ago, my colleague told me that tomorrow will be 242. I can tell you that. So if we talk about inclusive environments for a sustainable society, it has been mentioned and it's available in the Decade website, which are the connections in general terms between the Decade of Healthy Aging and the SDGs. But sometimes the SDGs are quite far from the everyday work in the cities and communities, in particular in those that are smaller, the smaller ones. What the Spanish network provides, and also, of course, the WHO Global Network provides, among other functions, as a structure to connect the SDGs with the local policies. And not only with the SDGs, it also happens, and we do that with the European care strategies and other international initiatives and frameworks. We bring those to the local policy and local everyday. We must have very present that many of the national strategies to address the age and population aging are implemented at the local level. So the town hall, the municipality, are the closest administration to the people, and they have a very detailed information about the reality, the needs, and how the policies have to be customized for each city to be successful and address the real needs. Local administrations have the capacity to influence people's day-to-day lives. We can talk about many relations between the SDGs and the age-friendly cities, but I will only address, they were already mentioned, the SDG 11 for sustainable cities and communities, and 17 about partnerships to achieve the goals. It has been quite difficult. I will mention just in a minute, in a few seconds, I will mention some initiatives, and I can tell you it has been very hard to select a few. Something very important that we have to keep in mind all the time is that a sustainable city has to be inclusive for all ages and all capabilities. At least thank you for just bringing that up, because that was really what my point was in this point, and has to provide the right environment for people to be able to stay there during all their lives until the end of their lives, which is particularly important, again, for rural areas. And I want to mention here the value of intergenerational relationships, because positive changes are generated in the older people in their physical, psychological, and emotional well-being. Motivation to learn new things increase, self-esteem improves, and situations of social isolation and feelings of loneliness are reduced or overcome. In short, healthy and satisfactory aging is favored. On the other side, in young people, a more positive and closer idea to the reality of older age and of the aging process is generally fostered. And here I will mention two initiatives. The first one is the Coslada in the city of Coslada, Learning to Service, which is an educational proposal that offers the possibility for people to put their learning and what they have already learned, their knowledge, at the service of the community, which are with the aim of meeting their needs, improving people's quality of life. So they make meetings, so when people with their knowledge, they just bring it up to the community. The other that I will mention is in the city of Manresa, which is Art que Suma, which is like, translation is art that adds. And it's really interesting. This is an annual grant for groups of artists that have to include artists under 35 and above 65, with the aim of promoting cooperation and exploring experiences between different people of different ages, share a joint interpretation of reality, and encourage creative exchange between generations. And if we talk about alliances, I'll go very quickly. I know my time. These are considered actually built at very different levels, and I will mention 3 levels. We can talk about the alliances that we built from the IMSERSO. As a coordinator of the network, we have to weave the network so it actually works as a network, showing and sharing experiences, provide a space to learn from each other, resolve doubts, facilitate debate, facilitate contact, and generate mutual support. And they come up with kind of sub-networks, and that these facilitate sharing resources. And also we improve the quality of the projects and actions, organizing annual meetings, guides, tools, and I'm particularly happy with a meta synthesis that we are actually, it will start just in the next days, weeks, and we're going to do with all the diagnosis and plans that we already have in the network. But we can also make this analysis between citizens and the administration. And I will mention here the Equipo Motor in Bilbao. The core team is made of older people from Bilbao who decide to become actively involved in the program and commit to promoting it in direct and close collaboration with the City Council. And the other level of alliances is inside the city between citizens and build the cohesion of the city society, the civil society. And I will mention Red Mayores in Pamplona, in the city of Pamplona, which is based on the participatory action of different social and professional agencies. I'm going to leave these here. These are just a few. I invite you to visit our website and blog and subscribe to our newsletter if you want, if you like. There's a lot of activities going on in our network, and we're very, very happy to share. Sorry for taking the time 1 minute more. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we're fortunate in having this extra time, because and it's very interesting, and indeed the Spanish are doing an enormous amount that I'm aware of. And we will have the time to come back and ask questions of the presenters. And I'm going to hand over to Anne Rizzo, who I had the pleasure of meeting about 3 weeks ago from Age Friendly Ireland, and we had a good time learning about what they're doing there. And of course, Ireland has gone zooming ahead in all sorts of ways. And I think, Anne, can I hand you're sort of international ambassador for Age Friendly Ireland, and you work at a local level in the west of Ireland in a number of communities. But I won't say what you're going to say. So can I just hand over to you, Anne?
Thanks very much, Liz. Yes, good afternoon, everybody. As Liz said, my name is Anne Rizzo, and I am Age Friendly Programme Manager for Ireland West. And I also am international.
No, we've lost the sound. I am. No?
Liz, can you hear me?
Now I do.
Okay, and can you see my screen?
Sorry?
Can you see my screen?
Yes, thank you. I can see the screen. I just couldn't hear you, but it doesn't matter. We've got your screen. Thank you.
We'll go ahead then. So good afternoon, everybody. As I said, my name is Anne Rizzo. I'm International Relations Officer with Age Friendly Ireland. Today I'm going to speak to you about how local authority housing is contributing to achieving sustainable development goals in Ireland. To set the context, we all know countries are experiencing ageing in their populations that will have effects long into the future. According to the Irish CSO, 23% of people living in Ireland are aged 65 and older. That figure is set to increase significantly by the year 2040. The implications of that are considerable, diverse, and challenging. In preparation for the expected rise in our older population in the next 30 years, several government policies have been published. These policies actively support well-designed, lifetime adaptable housing developments situated close to existing services and facilities. Among them are 3 policies of particular interest. They are Rebuilding Ireland, an action plan for housing and homelessness, Project 2040, the National Planning Framework, and housing options for our ageing population. I'm going to focus on one development that is located on the west coast of Ireland in a city called Limerick. Collivet Court is a 35-unit housing development specifically for older people. It incorporates best practice in universal design and was the result of a full year of public consultation, the result of which was a co-designed, multi-award-winning development. The consultation process undertaken identified that the key principles of Collivet Court should be that it was connected, spacious, accessible, pleasurable, manageable, sociable, and above all else, green. Collivet Court is conveniently located a short distance, so that's less than 5 minutes of a walk, from shops and a supermarket at Roxburgh Centre. There is a local bus service into Limerick City Centre. The bus stop has been relocated in consultation with the National Transport Authority and is now based at the front door of the development, and to the eastern end of the site we have a small, secure, landscaped car parking area. There's a perception that downsizing means smaller spaces, but Collivet Court was designed with higher than normal floor-to-ceiling heights, allowing for greater levels of daylight and a feeling of spaciousness. It is comprised of 21 two-bedroom apartments, 14 one-bedroom apartments, and a guest room. The majority of the scheme is made up of two-bedroom apartments, as it is often the case that cohabiting couples may need two separate bedrooms for health or lifestyle reasons. The additional bedroom can also be used for a carer required to stay overnight, for example. All apartments have been fitted as standard with wider doors, larger circulation space, and level access, which is often described as a specialist addition. Accessibility in the home is the difference between being able to remain living independently and a crisis move into a residential setting. In Collivet Court, level thresholds, ramps, appropriate door and corridor widths all contribute to making the development adaptable and sustainable into the future. All ground floor apartments are wheelchair accessible, and there are 6 wheelchair accessible parking spaces provided in the development. The main stair core has been fitted with a passenger lift. Provision has been made in all other stair cores for the installation of a lift in the future should the need arise. 5 apartments have been fitted out with wheelchair accessible bathrooms, including a wheelchair accessible toilet and basin, shower seat, and all necessary grab rails. And the grounds have been installed in all other apartments in case the need to adapt them in the future. The home environment plays a vital role in our sense of psychological well-being throughout the life course. Home contributes to feelings of pleasure, comfort, and security, as stated by these members of the Collivet Courts Residents Group. An approved voluntary housing body manages all services to tenants at Collivet Court. They have adopted a bottom-up approach to management rules. There is a strong focus on understanding client demand and what residents want. They employ a part-time caretaker who maintains the common areas and assists residents with small tasks. A housing officer visits regularly to meet residents on a one-to-one basis, and an emergency warden call service is also available through a 24-hour response centre. The scheme has extensive internal and external common areas where tenants can meet and socialise. Many residents already know each other well, having lived in the locality most of their lives. The communal facility has been designed to be used by the wider community, but also it's controlled by the residents, creating an integration of this whole development with the surrounding community. The local health service community worker for over 55s has a long-standing relationship with many of the people living on the scheme. She has provided people with help moving in, ensured supports following residents who relocated, organised public health interventions when needed, and built links with tenants she didn't already know. She is also proactive in helping with and encouraging use of those communal facilities. A high level of attention was given to this green principle at the design stage, as this was of serious concern to older people on relatively low incomes. Key considerations were to free up money and give greater financial stability in an era of changing fuel prices. For example, one resident's fuel bill midwinter went from €75 per week in her old accommodation to just €7 per week in Collivet Court. There is a high level of insulation in the walls, floors and roofs. High quality double glazed windows and external doors have been fitted. There is a high standard of air tightness in the building fabric to reduce heat loss through the roof and windows, and this also minimises drafts. 2 photovoltaic panels are provided per apartment as a sustainable source of renewable energy. And all apartments in the development have achieved a building energy rating of B1. So it's fine to hear from me about it, but let's hear from some of the residents.
The day I came down, I settled. I love it. Even the day I came in, to see them, you know, when they were being built. I just went home and I was dreaming of it, you know, I loved it, you know, I fell in love with it straight away, I did.
And I love my kitchen.
Yeah,
because Mona can't cook. So I do all the cooking.
I can cook, I just can't.
We leave her cook once a month to test the alarms. So, well, in the morning when the sun comes up here about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and we have that blazing in and top of us all day, and it is just absolutely stunning out there. Most mornings I'm out there at 8 o'clock and sitting down, having a cup of tea or coffee, and it's just unbelievable.
So they're Matty and Mona, one of the couples that moved into Collivet Court. And as you can see, Collivet Court is not just a nice place to live. It contributes to the achievement of many of the SDGs, some of which are SDG 1, reducing levels of poverty, SDG 3, promoting healthier lives and promoting well-being in residents, SDG 7, access to affordable, reliable, sustainable and modern energy, and SDG 11, inclusive, sustainable, safe and resilient communities, and SDG 13, combating climate change through the use of sustainable resources. I'd like to just say many thanks to the organisers of today's event. It is always great to promote age-friendly policies and practices. If you would like more information, we have an extensive library of publications available to download on our website, agefriendly.ie, and our sister site, agefriendlyhomes.ie, will provide you with information on our latest initiative aimed at keeping older people living at home as independently as possible through the provision of a range of targeted, bespoke supports. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Anne. As ever, very interesting and you know, a very good model for many people. I've heard you talk earlier about how it has been something done with the contribution of older people, and I think that is really quite important.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to I'm going to pass it on, the talk on to the plenipotentiary of the Mayor of Krakow for Senior Citizens, Anna Orkoronska-Walokowikisk. And I know that she's got sitting next to her somebody to help translate, Yolanda, but I think she's actually making the presentation in English. So, Anna, can you go ahead and we'll deal with it as we go along? Thank you.
Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Nie, jest po prostu. And now?
Aha. It's coming. Yes, it's there.
I
think you could probably make it a little bit bigger, but I'm not going to give you any advice on that. That's it. Thank you. Good.
I'd like, at first, at the beginning, I'd like to thank you for inviting me to present the case of Kraków or Poland. My name is Anna Okońska-Walkowicz. As plenipotentiary of the mayor of Kraków for aging policy. We call in Polish senior policy. My city, Kraków, is the second largest and one of the oldest cities in Poland. Kraków is European capital of culture and UNESCO City of Literature. We have 24 institutions of higher education which offer courses in the city with more than 200,000 students. Now some words about the demographic situation. Kraków has a population of more than 800,000 citizens. You ought to know that about 25 of the citizens of our city are in age 65 plus. It's very important because our aging policy answers following questions. These questions are which ones and how to create such spaces for using this potential. We know that potential of old people is very big, but we must ask which ones, how you use it. The second one is how to contribute to well-being of older citizens. For us, it's very important to create positive image of older persons. It's very important because to no excuse for ageism, fostering regular collaboration between generations, and supporting further development of older person in various dimensions. And it's important too, taking care for dependent persons. We have already two editions of the program. The first in years 2015-2020, and now currently from 2020 till 25. It's a program activation, integration, and participation. We call it PASUS. It's very popular program among old people who live in Kraków. There are at the city already more than 54 places in which every day for 5 hours older citizens in age of 60 plus can come and be active to receive support, be engaged in various activities. They are financed from the city's budget, and they are arranged by NGOs. One center is in each center. There are about 80 to 100 old people. They are coordinated by city's officials, Kraków Older Persons City Council, and as well with the plenipotentiary. On this picture, you can see it's the map of Kraków City. You can see they are located in each parts of our city, but we know that some of change of our city ought to have new center of activities. Now some words about participation of older persons in the city's policy making. Since 2015, there has been created the City Council of Older Persons, which consists of 25 democratically elected citizens in age above 60. Kraków Council of Older Persons have been established under the Act of Polish Parliament by the City Council. It's engaged in advising and consulting projects submitted by the city mayor, as well suggesting their own. Now you can see some various solutions which help our seniors. In this way, we make our city age-friendly. I think I ought to say that this bench which you see is one of it which are situated among bus stops or tram stops. It's very healthy for all people. I like to say that this solution was proposed. It was proposed of all people. They asked our local government to place more bench. And on this, here you can see one of new house for old people. It's each house is for 7 old person who live there and they can help themselves and they can use emergency. It's our new solution. We know that these places ought to be more and more. Thank you for attention, and thank you for invitation.
And thank you, Anna, for a very interesting presentation indeed. I mean, it's a beautiful city. With all its tourists, it is still magnificent. It really is. And I think we're now going on to some questions, which I tried to think about this morning. And because the link to the Sustainable Development Goals is often not quite clear to either older people's organisations or to governments, whatever level, I wondered whether we couldn't start with talking about if you have any thoughts for illuminating everybody else. What made your national, regional, or local politicians come on board to support either the SDGs or the age-friendly environments? And do you think they understand that they're connected in any way? Is the question clear? If it's not, I'll try and say it again. But I'm trying to ask about the political. What made the politicians move, and what do they really understand about the connection between SDGs and age-friendly environments? So let's go back to Anna, or to sorry, that's I wasn't going to go to Anna actually. I was going to go to Sarah, starting off there. Sorry. Yeah.
Thank you, Liz. I don't have a clear answer. Of course, I wish I would, but I can give you my reflection on that, my opinion on that. I think that at least in our country, I'm sorry, I just hear some echo. At least in our country, it's in the same, under the same ministry. SDG agenda, SDG 2030 agenda is in the same ministry that social services, and where we have age-friendly. It's another Secretary of State, but it's the same ministry. It comes under the Ministry of Social Services and Agenda 2030. That's actually the name. So I think that it's kind of the same vision, that there are some policies that must be transversal, cross-cutting to a lot of things, and that Agenda 20 on the side of Agenda 2030, I don't work there. I don't see their opinions, but I think they have a quite clear opinion that they have to have that wide approach to all the policies. on our side. And I think there was a political movement and a political impulse to put that in a Secretary of State level, because sometimes, or in other countries or previously, it was kind of a general direction or some office or some unit. So I think that the level that you put in the ministry, that's important. In our case, in age-friendly citizen communities, we are in the IMSERSO, and we, even though, as I mentioned before, it's the social services and care and age-friendly, I mean, aging policies many times are at the regional or local level, and we have the coordination of all those policies. It's quite clear for us that the policies, design of policies at the local level are absolutely crucial to make the actions really close to the reality. I think that for making an age-friendly city, there are many small, in those 8 areas, there are many small actions that really touch the lives of the people now in the city. Like, you know, sometimes it was just mentioned, Anna was just mentioning benches. I mean, it's sometimes it changes the quality of life radically for making very small movements, so to speak. So for us in the insertion this organization, we have clear that local policy is crucial to make real changes in everyday life. I think I'm going to leave it there and we can talk about more later. Thank you very much.
Good. Anne, do you want to say something on
Sure.
this?
Well, following on from what Sarah has just said there, for us, the biggest, I think, groundswell of support came from the local level, because our locally elected councillors were meeting the older people on a regular basis who were sitting on our older people's councils, our older people's executives, and they were hearing from them firsthand what it was that they wanted to improve their quality of life. And our councillors had no choice but to become more educated about age friendly, what it was trying to achieve, the benefits of becoming involved. Plus, if you're very lucky, old age comes to you at some stage. So they also saw it as a self-benefit, that what they were doing would benefit themselves as they grew older. So I think from our point of view, yes, we knew we had all of the support at the national level through government, but at the local level, I think it was the biggest thing that we recognised was that groundswell of support that came from locally elected councillors across the country, from all 35 of our municipalities. And I think that for us was the biggest factor in what has happened to date with age friendly.
But do they understand the link to SDGs? I think I'm trying to get at.
They're beginning to. And again, I think that's down to the way our local councils have changed in Ireland, and they've restructured the way they do their work. So they now have subcommittees, which are called social policy committees, SPCs. So they're in those smaller groups, and in those groups there are councillors, but there are also members of the public, members of the educational institutes, other stakeholders. So they're getting a more broad-ranging view from the people they're representing. That then feeds up to, we'll say, the larger council meeting. So it is being fed right from the grassroots, right up through the structure at local level, as well as at national level.
Right, thank you. Anna, any thoughts on the question originally? If Yolanda wants to help,
I think that especially local government understand these goals. They are so obviously that they are very interested to do it, but it's very how you know that it's very important to central know that these goals are very important and help local governments do it.
Yes. And do they understand it's linked to sustainable development goals?
Yeah, it's very difficult to answer because, but I think that they understand because a lot of them, it's old people simply. They understand it, that we are that now the world is global world, so it's very important to have common goals. But some of them don't, especially young people, not so strong connected with these aims.
Right.
It's my opinion, of course.
Yes, thank you. We are going to have a round of questions soon from the floor, so please send them. While you are sending in those questions, and we don't have room for 1 million questions, sadly, I wanted to ask another question, because thinking about how to promote the SDGs and age-friendly environments, what is the role of the media in this? Mass media, obviously. How does one use the media to actually promote the role of the inclusion of older people in policy and political action and the SDGs too? Is anybody got any thoughts? I'm not sort of asking anybody specifically, but if you have some thoughts about it, I think that would be helpful, because all of us have got that problem about how to promote the two things together. They're not irreconcilable, they're together, really, but people haven't got it yet. So what can we do? How do we influence, and how do we get the media to help us? Anybody want to say something? Is that Sarah?
Yeah, I think that it's very important to mass media are very important. They can create image of aging, can show good experiences, and by help of mass media, we can have better collaboration.
Yeah. I mean, it has helped you, is what I'm trying to ask, really. Has it actually been something you did systematically to promote this?
In Krakow,
yes,
we have very regular. Two times in a weeks every weeks. We have good in radio, because it's more useful for all people.
Yes.
So
thank you.
We have...
Right, Sarah, any thoughts?
Yeah, thank you. I'll start by saying that we haven't worked with media yet, but I think they are crucial, because many of the things are composed. Everything that I mean, of course, there are teams in the administrations, local, general, or NGOs or civil society that are going to be doing the technical work, actually, or in the municipalities. But there's a very important thing related to attitudes and to knowledge, because as it was mentioned before, if there's a big push, and was mentioning the push from the local entities, I can also mention the push from the older people, I mean, by themselves, to push the people. Older people today don't have anything to do with older people 40 years ago, and it will be nothing like in another 40 years or 20 years. So that profile of more active, much more engaged, that also there's a big amount of people, or some percentage of it, that's pushing and asking for not being discriminated, and being more involved, being more, being more taken into account. So what I mean, I'm going back to my point. It's a question of knowledge and attitude, and I think that for that, and it has to do with ageism as well, and cross-cutting mainstreaming aging policies, and I think that for that, media is crucial. We have some projects there on the table, but are not done yet. Back to you.
Anne, any thoughts on this issue?
Yes, so with Age Friendly Ireland, when we were getting up and going, it was a very slow process. And it was only as we struggled to build our profile that we really tried to engage with the mass media. It is difficult, because unless you have a specific event or whatever that they see merit in, they're not really interested. They're interested in the dizzying high heights of the really big political stuff. So the smaller stuff, like the fact that we're looking at how age-friendly housing contributes to the Sustainable Development Goals. They don't see that as a story. So from that point of view, it can be difficult to engage with them. But I have to say that from our own perspective, any engagement we've had with mass media, with national radio, national television, has been very positive and has raised the profile of whatever project or initiative we were undertaking at the time. So yes, if you can get them on side, they're a great support. If you don't get them on side, then it can be very difficult to promote anything that you're doing, or to promote, as we said, for example, how housing is contributing to the development goals.
Thank you. Now, I wonder, I think Kristen has been collecting questions, if there are any. Does she have some to read to us?
Yes, thank you, Liz. I think we do have time for one question from the chat, and it's a very good one. The question is, what are your experiences with political integration and participation with the old and oldest? Are they heard? Is their opinion and experience useful for society? And I'll add it to the chat as well so our panelists can read it if that's helpful.
Well, shall I throw it back to Sarah? Just a bit random who I ask, so it doesn't matter.
Thank you. Yeah, really interesting. That goes, I mean, participation is really crucial in all these. And yeah, I'll go to my experience. We have here, and it's organized here, coordinated here by the IMSERSO. National translation is National Council of Older People. So it's representative of older people. And actually, the policies that we do, our plans, our reports, and all our initiatives are shared with them in regular meetings. They have changed now. I think they have, I mean, I'm not directly related with them, but they have regular meetings. They have working groups, and they give insight to the policies and their design. Actually, I can mention we are working in that, I know, because it's in my unit, a national framework for loneliness, and we're going to share with them the operative plan so they can make insights. That's the National Council. That's really interesting also to hear from town halls the work that the groups, I don't know what's the translation, we call them grupos motores, the groups that are pushing the age-friendly program and plans forward together with the council. That's really interesting because they are really engaged. I was mentioning in my presentation the Grupo Motor of Bilbao, and that's really, I mean, that's the motor many times because they push it and they are heard. And the third thing that I would like to mention, and I just mentioned it very quickly in my presentation as well, is I think these about what they want, hear their voices and do things with their voices, that's absolutely crucial. I mean, having them on board from the beginning. And that's why also we are making these method synthesis with all the diagnosis that we have, because when you read the diagnosis of the town halls, of the cities and communities, you see that when they make the focal groups, those are the voices of the people that live there. And we wanted to make these like a global vision of what they are saying, not just so we kind of nurture a bigger policy level with all those small pieces or local pieces. So I think that's really interesting question. Thank you.
Anne?
Yeah, in Ireland, age-friendly Ireland is, we don't go out on the street and we don't have placards and we don't picket. We look at our work in terms of collaboration, firstly with our older people. We listen to the authentic voice of our older people and we escalate that up to national level. And we try to work with the various government departments then to co-design solutions for older people. But everything we do, our older people are at the center of it. So our older people in Ireland have a mantra, and it's nothing about us without us. So they are the core of everything we do. As I say, if they have issues that can't be resolved at the local level, they're escalated up to that government level where we sit with the various government departments. And it's about co-designing of solutions rather than dictating what it is that we want or demanding certain things. We try and work on a collaborative and a collegiate basis with our colleagues in the various government departments, with our older people on the ground right across the country. Our structure is such that we have local older people's councils, the chairs of which meet at national level, and then they in turn sit on various government consultation groups, etc., so that their voice is genuinely heard when the government is implementing policy or writing new policy. And where we used to have to knock on the door of the government departments and say, please, can we make a submission in relation to a policy they were working on? They now actively come to us and say, look, we're going to be writing a policy. We'd like a submission from Age Friendly Ireland on it. So the tables have turned, but it's still the voice of our older people that's at the centre of everything that we're doing.
Good. Thank you very much. That's very interesting. And Anna, do you want to say anything?
In all of our cities' activities for seniors, take part people over 80 and 90. They are strong. When I'd like to say, in our sports activities, we have groups of old people. We arrange them special trainings, and I think that is very important that we try arrange groups of older people 65 over 65 to go to their neighbors to ask them about what they need, and these conclusions they prepared for us, for me, and it will be very important to our next solutions. Thank you.
Thank you for the very interesting comments on that. I don't think we have time for much more. And I think my role is actually, besides thanking the panelists, I'm sure you have a lot more to say. And it is quite a lesson. I wish this could be heard by a lot of politicians in many countries, to think about how to turn older people into an asset, not for their party, but for the country and for national policy and for local policy at that matter. So I'm going to close the question and answer and pass the floor back to Thiago, if he would like to take over, and just say goodbye personally from all the panelists, and thank you for the very interesting answers.
Liz, I don't have much else to say. Just I would like to really thank you all. You started by saying and reminding us all of the importance of placing all the people at the center. Nothing about us without us, as Anne said. And this is precisely what we, WHO and UNECE, tried to achieve by having the majority of this panel with the presence and active engagement of all the people, led by another person leader that you are. So a huge thanks for that. Also, a huge thanks for everyone that works behind the scenes for all these organizations. I am the face of WHO here, but I really count on the support of my colleagues at headquarters, at the regional office for Europe, at the country offices in Tajikistan and Poland and so many other places. And I am sure that this is very much the case for every single organization involved here. And of course, a big thanks for those that actually participated in the meeting today. We count on you to serve as advocates. If your community is not age-friendly yet, if your country is not age-friendly yet, please make sure that that is the case. And you should count on us, on all of us, to make it happen. So a huge thanks. With no further ado, I pass the floor to Lisa for her final remarks as well.
Thank you, Thiago. And also from my side, I want to add to your thanks to also acknowledge all the work behind the scenes that has been done by the technical team, both at WHO and UNECE. And one thought maybe from my side that also emerged from that discussion is just how important it is for us who work in the aging world to keep drawing that connection and showing that linkage between making cities and communities and countries more age-friendly as a key contribution to sustainable development. And so also as a side event of the regional forum in which delegates will tomorrow and the day after also focus on SDG 11 and 17, I think the side event has made a great contribution to show that it is important not to leave anyone behind and to bring that perspective from the perspective of older persons. So it is 4:30. Our time is up. Let me thank all of you once again, all active speakers, moderators, video message contributors, and of course, all participants and co-organizers. And I wish you all the best. We will make the presentations with the kind permission of our speakers available on the meeting page in still this week, hopefully. So do come and check back for reference of these really interesting examples that we heard about today. So the meeting is closed. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.